9 times out of 10, whatever you are avoiding is absolutely the thing, the emotion, the conversation that needs to be embraced in order to move forward. I find this especially true as a creative when things like perfectionism show up, because what it is reflecting back to me are all of the stories and feelings in my body that I am avoiding confronting. The feeling of not being good enough, the feeling of not being ready, the feeling of failure, and all of these things that I just say is my perfectionism, so I keep working on this thing, when in reality, I'm just scared. I'm not confronting what's actually happening in my body. And so I am left to just loop that hamster wheel of perfectionism, always staying at arm's length from what I truly crave, sharing the work, having the impact, having the hard conversation, being able to be real and authentic and fail and recommit, you know. If you struggle with perfectionism, I get it. It's such a fundamental pattern in my life that is going to be a lifelong dance. But I'm here to say that the way beyond perfectionism is straight through the core of what you're avoiding inside of it. And I guarantee you that it's going to make you such a more embodied, magnetic, and authentic artist or creative if you do the work that it takes to lean in. So the work first starts with you acknowledging that perfectionism, procrastination, analysis paralysis, whatever the heck it is just me having a fear. And inside the fear, it's me avoiding an emotion. I will only try to perfect something if I'm scared of an outcome, if I'm scared of how I'm going to be received, if I'm going to be misunderstood, if I'm going to be judged, if I'm going to fail, all of these things. But inside of those fears, because all fears aren't fears of things, they're fears of feelings, there's an emotion that I'm not allowing myself to feel. And if you've been here before, you know I'm a broken record when I say this, but if you are stuck, it's because there's an emotion stuck there. And oftentimes they're the emotions that we're like, you again? For me, it'll be shame or anger or resentment or guilt. Things that will continually show up, I tend to want to avoid, but every time I embrace them, have the strength and capacity to lean in, I liberate myself, I expand, I go deeper. And so it's hard, awkward work, but it looks like you slowing down enough to acknowledge your pattern. I always try to perfect the email before I send it. I spend hours like, what am I worried? What am I actually afraid of, you know? Or I'm really scared to start this new project because what will people think of me? Or I'm really scared to pivot and start talking about this because I'm kind of judgmental of myself. I don't fully accept myself for doing that. And then the emotion that's under there is like a shame for these parts of you, these curiosities that you think aren't fully lovable, that you think are silly or uncool or whatever. You know, I can only speak from my own experience. And when I can really get into those emotions that I'm avoiding, there's really wisdom at the seed of that. Like there is so much wisdom at the core of something like perfectionism, because it's really pointing to all the places where I don't feel good enough, where I feel unworthy, where I feel unlovable, where I feel unseen, all of those. Any story that starts off in that direction, right? And when I can get to that place and really see those, feel those, love those, welcome those, create space for those finally, instead of avoiding them and shutting them down, I am all of a sudden stepping into a whole new world of possibility, because I'm no longer choosing the same response that is avoid the scary thing at all costs, try to be perfect so that the world accepts you. The world still isn't going to fully accept you, so I feel shame for that. I'm going to try even harder next time. You get that, right? When I can tell myself that it's safe to go inward, and I can feel what it's like to expand my nervous system capacity to go and feel the sticky emotion, to feel angry for all the times that I didn't feel good enough and didn't speak my truth, didn't share my work, didn't share my voice, whatever it is. When I can really acknowledge the depth of the shame and expand and ground into, whoa, like I can hold myself, even if I'm a hot mess for a second, I can hold myself as I go into these hard to reach places. You are only strengthening, widening, and fortifying your capacity to move forward boldly. Because now you're writing a new pattern, you're flipping the script, you're separating how you feel now from the potential outcome. You're just creating self-connection now, which is the best foundation to create and move forward upon, because you are less dependent on things working out the way you would like them to work out in order to then feel whole, full, loved, worthy, creative, all of these things. And my hope is that every creative can get to a place where they can be connected to what's happening into their body. Doesn't mean you're always fully feeling those emotions that are stuck and hard to access. But at least so that you can create with such a radical honesty and self-connection where it's like, you know what? I might fail, and I'm going to do it anyways because I can stay connected to myself at every step along the way, and I'll learn from this. Man, that is so powerful. Perfectionism is essentially showing up to reflect to us where we are limiting ourselves. And where we're limiting ourselves might show up in, oh, I'm not sharing this piece of music with the world. I'm not sharing my design with the world. But in front of that, behind that is, well, what's the fear? The fear of being seen, the fear of failing. What's the feeling inside of that? It's being inadequate. It's the shame for all the times I never used my voice, and now I get the chance to do that through perfectionism reflecting where I'm not free. So I know that's deep and that's a lot, but I'm telling you there's such wisdom hidden inside things like perfectionism, procrastination, analysis paralysis, all of these things. And when we can get down to the wisdom, which is the feeling in our body, it's not knowing, it's not a mental wisdom. Wisdom is really knowledge embodied, Then we get to move forward with such connection, vitality, and magnetism. And that's just going to create a beautiful life. Fight me. At least a more beautiful life than continuing to avoid the emotions, the fears that are scary to look at. And I get it, they're scary, but whatever you're avoiding is exactly the thing you need to embrace, and that's going to help you get to the next level. So if you want to level up your life, if you want to level up your creativity, if you want to level up your business, you have to lean into what you're avoiding. And I have the perfect toolkit for you. It's called the Embodied Creator Toolkit. It's all the experiments that you need to do that work to get going in the right direction from a deep sense of embodiment and connection, which is how you're going to be successful. So check that out, links in the description below, and be sure to sign up for my free newsletter and subscribe to this channel because something like 89% of you aren't, and I would appreciate it deeply. So I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!